To interrupt, but you guys got something else. We've already heard that song 100 times.
It's like a nightmare, isn't it? It just keeps getting worse and worse, doesn't it?
What do you want?
No, 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 I don't want to.
Good evening. Welcome to the Steelers Sanctuary Podcast. I'm Leanne Lohman. We got a full house tonight to break down the Steelers' loss to the Baltimore Ravens in Charm City. The Steelers went down 14-28 was the outcome we were all hoping we would not be talking about today. I'm glad that David Cora, Bob Quinn, Dave Rivera, and Zach Franciscus are all here tonight to talk about it. And man, I know everybody is just so frustrated. I know we're all in our feelings about it, even though it's been a couple of days. Initially, guys, in just a couple of words, what were your thoughts about that loss?
Despair.
I'll go first. Yeah. Worst Steelers loss in the 50 years I've been watching them.
Yeah. That's fair.
I mean, there's been a lot to choose from, so yeah.
300 yards rushing. I can't. No, I got a lot to say about that later. But 300 yards rushing, most embarrassing, worst loss ever I've ever seen.
Embarrassing. Embarrassing is the word. I mean, I just against a division rival that like you knew what they were going to do, and still couldn't stop them. So it's just embarrassing. That's
even once they showed you what they were going to do over and over again, you didn't adjust to stop them. Do you know what I mean?
No.
I felt like last year's playoff loss. Somebody said, was this more upsetting than last year's playoff loss? And I was like, yes, because this year we had hope. Like last year, I didn't ever think we'd win that game against the Bills. Like there was no chance. Do you know what I mean? If it had been on at 8 p.m., I'd have gone to bed. I didn't think we'd have a shot against them with Mason Rudolph. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think the Jacksonville loss a couple of years ago still bothers me more because the team was better.
But we always lose to the Jaguars. I mean, that's not.
I don't know. That was
the biggest one to me. I didn't break anything today. I dented the front of my mother's washing machine when we lost to Tim Tebow.
That was
painful. That was painful.
So
too.
that one to me, I cannot watch replays of that. I cannot. So to me, that's the most painful. But
that one is also embarrassing. Hey guys, just think about what we're talking about right now. All these fucking embarrassing losses during a certain tenure by somebody. Just think about that for a moment. Like I'm just gonna shut up because I could spit fire for fucking hours right now. just go ahead.
I remember during the 5-11 year, I think we lost a game the last one of 88 for Noel. There was a game we were losing probably 28, 30 points, and literally our punter dropped the ball and missed the punt. I mean, this was more embarrassing than that. I'm sorry. Steelers are built on defense. 300 yards rushing.
And that I do not forgive.
I think Daniel's point speaks to that. I mean, looking at this defensively built team, and then you've got 38.3 points per game allowed in that 6-game playoff losing streak. I mean, I think that really speaks to the problem that, does this defense break down? Do we just get out coached? Does our offense shut down so that the defense is exhausted? Is it kind of a combination of all of those things?
Yeah.
I think the obvious answer that everybody's going to put the blame on Mike Tomlin, but let's go a little bit deeper than that. And where do you guys really place the blame for this loss? I mean, let's look beyond Mike Tomlin's coaching. I understand the buck stops with him, right? But it's got to trickle down to some other people. Do you guys think it was more the offense, the defense? Do you think it was
Leanne, it doesn't trickle down because the very first drive, 95 yards, we got punked. When you got Kirk Herbstreit, the wizard of analysis that he is, saying on a national broadcast that this is embarrassing. There's no fight. I mean, we've changed coordinators multiple times. We've had multiple quarterbacks. We've had multiple all kinds of things. There's only been one constant. And I'm sorry, but yesterday, for the first time, the whole myth of people want to play for Mike Tomlin, I think it's very interesting. And Pat Fryermuth came out after he couldn't get a half a fucking yard to get a first down.
But is
And
that
he's
Mike
the guy. He's
Tomlin's
the kind of
fault
guy
that
who wants
Fryermuth
to do it.
drops balls and can't find the first down marker? I mean, that's not on Tomlin. There was shortcomings that popped up in other places than just on Tomlin's lap. So yes, while the root of it all goes back to coaching, I mean, this is the shortest podcast ever. If we're just going to say, well, it's all Mike Tomlin's fault, then we'll just hang up and get off now.
It's hard not to, though, because he's the defensive coach, and it's the defense that breaks down in the playoffs every year. Yeah. Granted, the offense isn't doing them any favors.
Yeah,
I put a poll up.
There's been a lot of talk the past 2 days about, maybe this is the year that Art Rooney will tell Tomlin, look, you've got to take a step back, and you can lead this team, but you can't have your fingers in the offense and defense. Do you guys think there's any chance that'll happen?
I'm skeptical. I have to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
There's two people that have to go. There's 2 people that have to go at this point. Art needs to hand it to Dan Rooney, and Mike Tomlin needs to go. Hopefully, Jerry Jones will offer the Steelers a fucking boatload of picks, and Tomlin will go to Dallas. That's the only hope, because otherwise nothing is changing. Although I did hear Chase Daniel today talking about how it's very interesting that they don't plan to move on from Mike Tomlin. Not, hey, we're not moving on. He said there's some soft language there, and he said it's something to watch for. And he floated the Dallas thing too.
Kabali said today, I thought this was interesting, that he feels like, Tomlin's got 2 years left on his contract. He feels like that's about how much longer Rooney's going to last before he turns the team over to Danny. So he thinks that transition might go hand in hand. He feels like Art Rooney has built his entire ownership legacy around Mike Tomlin, and he can't let it go out this way. Do you know what I mean? So he's going to feel like he has to spend the next 2 years on Tomlin's contract trying to redeem himself. And that's when he floated the idea that maybe, he'll encourage him to take a step back from manipulating everything.
Yeah, whenever we lost, I almost more certain than I was going to see the sun the next day. I knew exactly what I was going to see on social media. I knew exactly what I was going to see. And genuinely, it's one of the big reasons that this podcast right here is the very first time I have opened my mouth, I have typed, I have done anything, simply because I don't want to be another person screaming into a void, regardless of how legitimate the opinions are, because all of the knocks on Tomlin, all of the things, they're legitimate. But it's screaming into a void and hitting our faces into a brick wall because we all know nothing's going to change. So I go into this podcast with the overarching thing: we're upset at Mike Tomlin, nothing's going to change, and set those aside.
Yeah, it's like Groundhog's Day. It's like Groundhog's Day.
My biggest. So to me, that's not going to change. So rather than frustrating myself and everyone watching, just going over and over, I was legitimately shocked at how confused Russell Wilson looked throughout that game. He's supposed to be a veteran. He's supposed to be the reason that, there was stability. He looked lost. From the moment that first snap happened, he looked lost. And I think it was when it was 14-0 after 6 drives each. They had scored twice. And then I out loud looked at my cats and I said, if Justin Fields doesn't come in on the next drive, I'm going to start to be concerned. And when he didn't, I just put my head in my hands. There was across the board. I don't know whose it was, but there was just everyone looked lost. It was a team that looked lost, and Russell Wilson was supposed to be a stabilizing force, and he was anything but. Very disappointed in how Russell Wilson did.
Justin Fields played 2 plays.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, look, that's why, Mike Tomlin's fault, but also Arthur Smith's, also Terrell Austin's, also Pat Myers. Yep. Every fucking coach on that team, part of it is their fault. Period. Now, yes, Tomlin's at the helm. You ain't going to get an argument out of that with me. But we can blame fucking everybody, literally. Like, that's how this should go down. It's everybody's fault, from top to bottom. Just an epic collapse by them. The 5-game losing streak. I believe that's the first time that's ever happened in a Tomlin coach team to have a 5-game losing streak to end this season. My gosh, that is literally everybody's fault. We're going to go more to detail, but just that's my point in this, Leanne, is that it's literally everybody's fault, and we'll get more into it because there's a certain little thing per coach that you could cite that you're just like, yep, that's on you, buddy. Yep, that's your fucking fault.
Yeah.
So
I see.
Offense or defense?
You got to say defense. They spent all the money on defense. The defense let them down. I mean,
that's
straight up.
If we're being honest, they're both bad. It's not a good football team. It just isn't.
9 weeks ago, we were talking about are they an elite defense or not?
Yeah, they're not. They're not even close.
So I mean,
they go through these stretches during seasons where they trick us, and they look great, and we're like, "Oh, this is an elite defense." And inevitably, by the end of the season, they're crap, and they're falling apart. And I don't know if that's because we haven't had offenses and they wear down because they're on the field all the time. That could be part of it. But this is like a never-ending story. The defense shits the bed every year at the end.
The only good teams we beat are division teams during the season. That's the only good teams we beat. Think about what good teams do we beat
you can put
that are not
the Chargers.
No, Herbert
Commanders?
was injured. No, time out. That first month, no. The Broncos just had a rookie starting for them. I'm not taking that one. The Chargers, Herbert was really fucking banged up, and their defense was banged up. They had tons of injuries. The
Commanders might be the one.
The Commanders.
You got to give us one. Give us one.
Okay, fine. Commanders.
And we beat the Ravens.
Yeah, he said division.
He said other than divisional.
Like, we hardly ever do it. As soon as we face most of these good teams. Now, again, Commanders had a rookie quarterback. We usually do good against rookie quarterbacks. But established, really good teams that are not division opponents, we get the shit kicked out of us. Or lose. And that's what sucks. I mean, as soon as we hit that stretch and we took on the Chiefs and we were basically 100% against the Chiefs and they made us look like we were nothing, I knew that we were in trouble. I mean, I knew that was because that was the real test when we had most of our players healthy and it was just too easy for them.
Yeah.
I think if we go back and look at the podcast when we were about 10 and I think we were 10-3. There was one point where I said out loud, I was very confused. I was like, wait, are we really talking about us being a what? This team I legitimately thought was a playoff team at that point. I was really confused when people were talking about 1 seed. I looked at the team, I looked at what we could do, and I was like, if we keep talking about us being a 1 seed, we're going to be sorely disappointed. Unfortunately, that's kind of what happened. We got caught up in a 10-3 hype because we weren't at so that part, I was prepared for us to not be a number 1 seed, and I was prepared for that. I wasn't prepared for the disappointment of the game itself.
Yeah.
We had a 2-game lead in the AFC North with 4 games to go. Hey, for our man Vaughn out there who's demanding rage, here's some rage for you, buddy.
Loud noises!
This team hasn't had a lead since December 8th. Hasn't had a lead in a game since December 8th. I mean, this is bad, and then it's just atrocious. Right? It's been atrocious football the last 5 weeks. Atrocious.
So with that defense, where's the blame in this? Is it all over the place? Is it specific players? Is it the coaches? Is it the schemes? Is it just getting out-coached by the offense? Is it all of it?
So
all over.
Go ahead, Dave.
So here's the thing. So the Ravens went with an RPO almost every other play. Mm-hmm. And we kept having our edge rushers tackle the running back every single time. I think Watt and Highsmith combined for like 20 tackles that don't count because they kept tackling the running back. No one, not one single time did they adjust that to go, no, you hit the fucking quarterback. Don't fall for it every time. I don't care if you hit him and he doesn't have the ball. You've got to establish you're going to kill him if they keep trying to run that play. And it never happened. Even James Harrison was on Twitter going, why do they keep having them focus on the running back?
Because they were getting gashed by him.
And Baltimore, but no. In the beginning, though, Lamar and them realized, dude, they keep going after the running back. We're just going to fake it, and I'm going to run.
Yeah.
And it killed the Steelers. And not once did they adjust to that. The whole damn game, they didn't not once adjust to that. And that was it. And then by the second half, they were just like, well, we're just going to run Derrick Henry down your throat. Good luck.
Yeah, them signing Derrick Henry was a game changer. It's completely makes them almost unstoppable because you can't take both away. You got to pick your poison.
Yeah.
and one of them's going to beat you. The only way to beat Baltimore is to get a lead on them and make them one-dimensional. If you fall behind and they could just run their run plays and run their offense, you're dead. You're dead.
I thought we did a better job containing that before. Do you know what I mean? Even with that squishy defense that I hate, we did a better job containing it before. I felt like I agree with David. We just quit adjusting and doing things that work against them. Do you know what I mean? It was like we forgot we beat them earlier this season and limited all of that. And I felt like that was the theme of that 5-game losing streak. Like earlier this season, we would start slow and we would make adjustments, whether it was on offense or defense, and pick up the pace a little bit and win a game. But it felt like those 4-game that losing streak, it felt like it was just like, well, fuck it. This is what we drew up and we can't change it now.
Anyone not named Cam Hayward got dominated on the D line.
Yeah.
I mean, he got
I saw
dominated
really.
too.
Although
He gave up 300 yards. There was
I'm
no
sure there's
good
no
player
plays,
on defense.
But overall, though, Cam Hayward, I think he had 10 tackles this game,
Yeah.
or something like that. I mean, for D lineman to have that many tackles, he wasn't getting dominated like Ogunjobi and Adams and all those guys. Like I just, the D line got killed, absolutely killed.
Exposed Terrell Austin as there's one dimensional, but then there's I don't know how as a coordinator you can look at what was happening on the field and say, nah, just keep doing the same thing, just do the same thing, and then our adjustments are pedestrian.
Yeah.
When we try to adjust, they're like what? High school football level adjustments that anyone could see coming.
Right.
Well, I joke about it on
what
I joke
Tanner
about it
saying
on
here. And welcome to the show, Tanner. He said they eventually adjusted to tackle Lamar instead of the running back, but that's how Henry got the long touchdown run. Baldy broke down the play and showed 3 Steelers defenders moving towards Lamar instead of Henry.
When they made this
So
switch,
we adjusted, but too late.
yes, in the second half, they made this switch, and it was Henry's. That's what I was saying. Henry started running down the throats, but by then,
I joke about it all the time, but did you see the defensive call sheet that Austin holds? It's a postcard. Most coaches have a book. I mean, it's sad. It's an indictment on this whole defense. His whole play sheet is this big. It's like, what do you got? 6 calls on there? Then we wonder why they can't adjust. There's no adjustments. There's nothing. I hate to keep all roads back to Tomlin. It's just, this is the defense they've designed. This is what they have. It's all bad.
I mean, let's be honest. You haven't scored a touchdown on the first drive in 19 games. So you decide to take the ball. Mistake number 1.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I couldn't believe they did that.
It's unbelievable.
In the playoffs. In the playoffs.
Yeah,
in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Exactly.
then you punt and pin them inside the 10. You're thinking, okay, this wasn't great. We've got 1 first down, and then we punted and we pinned them. 95 yards from the very second the game started.
Yep.
We were not. I mean, come on. Lamar Jackson didn't have Zay Flowers. We all talked about how this is going to make a big difference. They ran the ball 13 straight times and scored a touchdown. I mean, there was not one single bright spot on the team. Boswell didn't even get to kick field goals.
Yeah.
There was nothing. I can't point to one thing. I take that back. Corliss Waitman had a pretty good game.
Yeah.
And when do we start having the conversation about TJ Watt? He hasn't made a play in a month.
I think he's seriously hurt.
I hope he's hurt, because if this is the best of him healthy, we're in trouble. We're in a lot of trouble.
If he is hurt, we didn't sit him down for 4 games to get ready.
Huh?
If he's hurt and we didn't sit him down 4 games to get ready for the playoffs,
that's what I think.
Yeah.
I hate to be a broken record here, and I know Leanne hates to hear it, but that all goes back to coaching. If you got your best player who can change games and he's hurt, you do not throw him out there and hope when you have already clinched the playoffs.
To be clear, I don't hate the criticism of Tomlin. My thing is that I don't think that firing him is happening. So I think to spend all of our time, ranting in the front yard like old men at clouds about firing Mike Tomlin is a waste of time. I think that we should be talking about what changes could be made realistically within the team while he's there.
Well, did you guys see what Watt said?
I think the criticism of him is fair. I just don't think it's going to change. So I
No,
don't
you're
think
right. It's not going to
Rooney gives a
change.
rat's ass what any of us think. I've never seen a team ever, the Steelers fire a coach because, Leanne is upset or Bob is upset or whatever. So I just think that, maybe it's a, that's just me, that I feel like
I wish
more
they would.
practical
I wish they would
discussion.
be like, hey, they're upset. Let's do something.
Yeah,
But
that's not gonna
hey,
happen.
did you guys see TJ Watt's comments though today
Yes.
about how he needs to learn how to adjust to getting chipped and all that stuff? And did he say something like about be more willing to move?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a second, were you like fighting them on that? Or
Of course he
something?
was,
Like,
dude. That's not.
Yeah.
No, actually, that's what I was going to go into next to build on what Bob was saying. If we want to go a little deeper into the coaching aspect of the TJ Watt, it was brought. I really wish I remember who said it on Twitter because I give them credit, but they said that it's a serious indictment on how the players are coached in Pittsburgh. If your best player has a say against the coaches and how he's being used. As a coach, you should go up and you say, you are going to be used. If you can tell Broderick Jones to play on the wrong side, why can't you tell TJ Watt to move? If that's
Kabbalah
not
said that
favoritism.
when they talked about sitting players, and I forget who he was saying, somebody was hurt and they weren't going to play, and Tomlin was going to make sure that person didn't play and rested. I forget who it was. But then they said, Pickens. And then he said, but when it comes to Watt, whatever Watt says is what he'll do. So if Watt says, I'm good to go, Tomlin's going to let him play. And I think you have to know that somebody like TJ Watt is such a competitor. He's going to always say he can play, right? I mean, I wouldn't expect anything else from him. I would think the coach's job is to make sure that you manage that situation so that you have these players. It's no different than managing snap counts. And Relic says, stop blaming him. He had a wrist injury during the game. I don't know if it's true or not, but one of the local reporters said that he actually had like 2 or 3 things going on with him. So,
well, this is what happens when you have a 31-year-old edge rusher that you completely depended on.
Yeah.
He's going to break down.
We know he hurt his elbow because he had that brace. He had to come back out with that brace on. Like that was an in-game injury. The wrist injury though, I wasn't aware of that.
I mean, look, everybody at this time of the season, you're hurt. But his ankle injury looked serious when it happened. He barely got off the field. So you sit him down and get him as healthy as possible. I mean, but that being said, okay, fine. I want to play. You know who else? It doesn't matter. You got to be able to look at him and say, no. I will say this about the Tomlin noise. This is the first time the national media is really beating the drum. Stephen A. Smith is a big defender of Mike Tomlin. He's questioning. Shannon Sharp's questioning. It's the narrative is starting to change. Yeah, Rich Eisen and some other guys are not, but I have heard more national media beating the drum than we've ever heard before. If he loses that national media cover,
it's still not going to matter, Bob. Come on, it's still not going to matter.
That won't make it.
I wouldn't say so. I would say 90% no, but for the first time, I think there's a 10% chance that a trade or something. I think Tomlin is smart enough to know to get while the getting's good, because he comes back and has a Belichick year. All of a sudden, I can only get a college job is on the table, because let's face it, if Bill Belichick had walked the year after Tom Brady, when he made the playoffs with Mac Jones, he probably goes where he wants to go. He held on. They went under 500. Then they were really bad. And now let's face it. I mean, he had to go to college to get a job.
Belichick's different because he's in his 70s. I think Mike Tomlin could still have a couple bad years and still get jobs wherever he wanted. That's not the issue. People, you see the national media and they drool over him. Like they think we're crazy for questioning him. Like this guy's such a great coach. Why would you criticize Mike Tomlin?
Back to the TJ Watt thing, I wanted to say one more thing. If Tomlin can come out and say that those 4 losses didn't matter, and that wasn't his exact wording, but it wasn't critical or whatever, then why did it matter to play TJ Watt in all those games? You know what I mean? So to Bob's point, if he should have been resting, if that didn't matter because we already made the playoffs, then why are we risking the health of all of our starters. Do you know what I mean? And I think it speaks to that, what's going on with the players. You got Mason McCormick not playing because he refused to wear a cast, and all this other crazy shit. It just sounds like there's a lot of like who's running the asylum.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, at some point, you can't go into the playoffs with a 4-game losing streak, though. And if he's trying to turn the tide. Excuse me. So I get that part of it, but
yes,
I would tend to agree with you guys. He should have rested him. He's trying to do a balancing act where he's trying to rest his players, but he knows. And it's like I told you guys in the last. This thing was rolling downhill too much. They weren't going to be able to turn it around in a playoff game. It was never going to happen.
Yeah.
So I get why he was trying to stop the bleeding before the playoffs started, because they were free falling.
You didn't want to go into the playoffs with a 4-game losing streak.
Yeah, you can't. Then to expect to turn it around on a dime in the playoffs?
That's
not.
With this.
I'm waiting for the George Pickens trade demand any minute, but I thought honestly he was the best at the press conference. Hey, do you think this made any difference? Whatever. Is there going to be change? Nah. I like that answer. Where he just came out. He's the only guy who was like, hey, do you think things are going to change? Nah.
Yeah, I know I've said I'm done with him, but I actually thought that he did respond with the loss well.
Agreed.
Like I thought that he actually didn't go nuts on the sideline. Now,
he got the ball.
Now, mind you, I was going nuts for him in the first half when there was 3 minutes left in the fucking first half, and they just start throwing the ball to him.
Yeah.
Like I was going crazy, so I can't even imagine what he was going through.
I was screaming at like the second play, like, please just throw him the fucking ball so we can keep him like contained.
We talked about it last podcast.
That's a great point. I pointed this out last night when we were watching the game in chat. Pickens on the 3rd and 4 is running a crosser, and he's got Marlon Humphreys 1.5 yards behind him. It's an easy completion that every NFL quarterback should be able to make. And he didn't even look at him. It wasn't like it was, okay, I'm under pressure, whatever. He's looking down the field, and here's a crosser with your best receiver who's got his guy beat man to man. He might run for 30 yards if you give him the ball in stride. And we don't throw it to him. Look, if we want to throw some other blame around, a 37-year-old 5'10" quarterback who doesn't throw the ball over the middle of the field for his entire career is not the answer. Say goodbye. Justin Fields may not be the answer either, but at least he'll run with the ball occasionally.
And actually, I'm glad you brought up Russell Wilson again. So if you look at the stats, clearly the stats, just that. He has 121.3 passer rating, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. You would think that, okay, Russell Wilson had a good game. But what the stats don't show is how many fucking times he missed guys being open, like what Bob is saying. It was Pickens, Austin, Muth, even though I'm not really happy with that guy either. But there were a lot of open wide receivers that he just didn't see or just didn't want to throw it, or he just did a first read and got rid of the fucking ball because he's running for his life back there, or whatever you want to call it. But that's one of the things that the stat sheet doesn't show in this, is just how much Russell Wilson just doesn't see guys open. And I wonder if that's kind of like what the Denver fans are trying to tell us, is that you just don't understand. There's things that this guy cannot do or does not do that's not going to be shown in the stat sheet. And that's my fault for looking at the stats and going, boy, he's actually doing pretty well. What are they talking about? I was wrong. Like, that's the problem, Russell Wilson. He doesn't see open wide receivers, whether it be short or he just forbids to go through his second and third reads. I'm not sure which it is, but it's a problem. And it's a problem that I, for one, do not want him back because of that reason. Now, seeing this through a whole, last part of this season, I'm all in on Justin Fields. I know we're going to get into that down the road.
Yeah.
In general, I agree with a couple of you. I think Justin Fields is the guy we should bring back.
Yeah. So let's shift and talk about the offense. Relic brings up that here's a stat for us. While the Steelers had 0 touchdowns in the first half, and also say 0 touchdowns in the first quarter of their last 6 playoff games, I believe. The Bills were up 21-0. The Pats were 10-0. The Chiefs were 20 points up. Washington up by 14. The Ravens up by 14. This is something I think we saw. I don't think any of us were necessarily surprised that we weren't blowing the doors off of whatever their M&T Bank Stadium or whatever that's called in Baltimore during the first quarter, the first half. I mean, that's kind of been all season. So where do you think things broke down with the offense? Was it Arthur Smith's play calling? Was it Russell Wilson's inability to read the field? Was it whatever the hell is going on. Pat Fryermuth needs contacts or something. I mean, there seems like there was a lot of blame to go around.
I was
Go ahead.
the
Yeah.
creativity was underwhelming.
Yeah.
If that was burning the boats, if that was leaving everything on the field, that was pathetic.
Burning the boats.
It really,
Ridiculous.
if a drone flying over and delaying the game for 7 minutes scares Arthur Smith away from playing Justin Fields again, what kind of coordinator are you?
Yeah.
2 times.
We know what kind of coordinator
Two
is. He's
times
terrible.
in the game when and it was the amount of times on different shows leading up to this game I heard all I hope is that we don't suddenly discover passing in the second half. I hope we don't wait till the second half to we had 2 drives, 2 good drives. That's it. So I'm not celebrating a thing about
Burn
it.
the boats is one flea flicker that didn't work.
One failed flea flicker.
Yeah,
That's it.
And 2 Justin Fields appearances. That's what burn the boats is, guys, with Arthur Smith. Ooh.
It's so hard to pinpoint.
Really excited though when they brought Fields out early. I was like, okay, look at this.
And then they abandoned it the rest of the game.
And they're like, psych.
I'm so done with this team. This offense, it's what it comes down to is it's a lack of talent. There's not enough talent on this offense. The offensive line's terrible. I don't know if you guys saw the clip of them the tackles pulling against each other, going different directions.
It's one of my favorite
Oh my
videos
God.
to watch. Just watch them about running.
There's nobody to throw to but George Pickens. Muth, you guys like Muth. I'm done with him. He's terrible. He's terrible.
No, I'm done.
Dropping passes, not going full out for first downs. He's very average. Guys, he's very, very average.
That answer today with, hey, things are getting better. It's the first time we played for a division title. I mean, do you not understand what number you're wearing? I mean, just go research your number and then talk
They
about
should take that away from him. They should take that number away from him.
Guys, when I saw Dallas Goedert last night in that play where he caught the ball, turns around, stiff arms the shit out of the guy trying to tackle him, is spinning, he's doing anything he can to gain an inch on the field. And then they go back and show, I see Moose play, where he had, 3 yards, 4 yards of space between him and that defender, and he only needed to get a yard. And he literally just wanted to avoid the tackle and fell right down. Like, that's what Moose's been doing all season, is dropping important passes, getting down so he doesn't get hit, or running out of bounds so he doesn't get hit. Am I wrong? What is
No,
that's what I'm
you're right,
seeing.
100% on.
I'm seeing a guy that wants to avoid contact. He's basically going into business for himself and making sure he avoids getting hurt. And it's killing them. I don't care about his stats for the season. I could give a shit. Because in important moments, this guy fails every single fucking time. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. Like, I don't want to see this shit. Go take the hit, get the yard, get the first down. And he never
catch the ball. There's a novel
I mean,
idea.
That's the first thing.
Catch the fucking ball.
First play of the game, it hits him right here, and he fucking drops it.
We're gonna see it for 4 more seasons. So
Yeah. Along with everything else, 4 more seasons of Arthur Smith, probably 2 or 3 more seasons of Russell Wilson, 3 more seasons of Mike Tomlin. I asked this in the chat before we got on. What do you guys hang your hat on for next year and going forward with this team? The defense is old and not very good. You don't have a quarterback. You don't have any offensive weapons. The offensive line's in shambles. What makes us think? What gives us hope for 2025? Because I can't find anything. Mike Tomlin will somehow magically get them to 9 wins, and that's great. But I've seen this play before. I don't want to see it anymore.
If I will say this, if they hit gold on replacing the offensive line coach, because this is very reminiscent. Well, I don't even want to say that, but 12 to 15, the defense got old. The offensive line wasn't very good. But then they brought in Munchak, and Munchak gelled that DeCastro line together, and all of a sudden they got good. So if they could somehow strike gold in the offensive line coach who plays people in the right position, I think Mason McCormick is going to be good going forward. Isaac had a bad year.
Isaac's
bad second half of the year.
He hit a rookie wall. I mean, you can only expect so much out of the,
Yeah, Frazier is good.
Yeah.
Frazier's the one player I can say is a future star.
was
And we
good.
gotta hope.
Tano's going to be good.
We don't know that. We don't even know if he can stay on the field,
We
Leanne.
don't
Here's-
know that,
here-
but I mean,
here's the
I think I'm more confident in him than Broderick Jones.
Well, yeah,
Here's
again,
the thing. Okay, well, here's the
low
thing.
bars.
Here's the thing, okay?
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'm not saying they will. Fotano takes the right tackle and they move Jones back to left tackle where he's naturally better at. That's what I'm hoping really happens. Omar Khan even said it. He admitted that eventually he will go back to left tackle. That's the one thing we can hope with Jones is that he does go back to his natural position and he plays better. That's the one thing I'm clinging to. Plus, Frazier is good. Sam Mallow, I agree. I think he's about done. McCormick,
Gotta hope it's Kevin Dotson part
can't-
2 and it's not too late.
I'm not going to judge a 4th-round pick, on top of the rookie wall because he showed flashes in the run game. So I'm not there yet, McCormick. I'm not going to give up on him. I mean, like I said, he's a 4th-round pick. I mean, like
He'll
we
play
shouldn't
his
be.
draft
I'm not
selection for
expecting this
sure.
guy to so it's one of them things. I think there is some hope with that offensive line, not all of them, but I mean, the indictment of Meyer is, my gosh, Moore and Broderick Jones lead the league in sacks. Like that's bad. And then
1 and 2
seeing
and most
them-
sacks given up.
And then, like you said, the video of them both pulling and going, just running into each other. I
It's
mean,
the playoffs. It's
Yeah.
week 19.
But
You're still
look
doing
at-
the same fucking stupid shit.
Look back at Kevin Dotson. He was terrible in Pittsburgh because they kept playing him in the wrong position.
Yeah.
He got all pro votes. He got hugely paid by the Rams.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to see him tonight. He's pretty good. And that's
He's
a
not
guy
pretty
who
good,
we
he's very
just
good.
figured, fuck it. We'll just play him out of position. It's his fault. He can't learn. So, yeah, I'm not ready to give up next year. It's the only chance they got. Because if they have to draft another tackle in the first round, oh, my God.
You have to
Then
bring in a
we're going to
veteran.
have to start talking about Omar Khan.
You have to bring in a veteran that can eat both sides. You can't count on Fuatano coming back 100% healthy and Broderick Jones mystically becoming good again at left tackle. You have to have a backup plan there. You cannot go into the season with those two and just,
I don't disagree.
hope for the best.
I don't disagree. I would have a backup plan too. Yeah, no, I don't
And
disagree.
you got to pay. You're going to have to pay someone not top of the market money, but some pretty decent money to be a backup for those guys and step in if they can't go.
Again, this is why you want Justin Fields to be the guy. He's going to cost less money. That gives you more money to do what you got to do to make this team competitive. And that's saying a lot. But just in
Bob,
general,
you're old enough to remember this. This is starting to look like the '80s to me all over again. This thing's going down.
I was
it's-
very young, but I've heard this is the 80s.
The 87 draft, by the way, other than the 74 draft, might have been the best Steelers draft in history. So it wasn't completely devoid where they went just year after year after year. Look, and I'm sure we'll do this at some point this offseason. If you go back at this point, pre-Omar Khan to 2017, TJ Watt is the only guy we have drafted, and the jury is very much out on the Omar Khan classes, but there's no stars, but they seem to be solid contributors. Whereas from TJ Watt until I can't even name, maybe Zach Frazier is going to be a star. To Zach Frazier, there's nothing and nobodies. Most of these guys not only didn't get second
George
contract,
Pickens.
they weren't even key contributors. Pickens is good, but I don't think there's any way we're going to keep him.
Another thing, Elian, back to the question of like offense in general. Another thing I wanted to bring up was that Warren only got 2 carries the whole game.
6 touches the whole game.
Yeah, why would he come back?
Like, what in the world? Like,
Unfortunately for him, he has to come back.
but you
He's
said
He's a restricted
no,
player, right?
no.
People are
Najee only
sorely
had 6
mistaken.
touches, Dave.
Unless somebody pays him.
Warren had 2.
Yeah.
That's it.
no, but I think he had 6. He had 4 catches too, right? So he had 6.
Oh, I'm going off
6
strictly
touches
just
total, yeah.
carries.
Yeah,
He
right.
only had 2.
But still, that's my.
What
I'm
in
just
the-
backing up your
what-
point. Only 4
what in the
catches too.
World
Yeah.
are we doing here? Like, I just again now back to more Arthur Smith. Like, what are you doing here, dude? Like, we all agree Jalen Warren's top 3 playmaker on the team. You're not giving him the ball at all. Like, what are you doing?
And I'm almost at the point with Arthur Smith where I'm not buying that Mike Tomlin's, got his thumb on. Arthur Smith's been in the league long enough where he can make his own decision. That guy was a fucking head coach.
Yeah,
It's not like he's some bum.
Yeah.
He's not Matt Canada. So he can make his own decisions on offense. He's just terrible.
But
I'm not-
Tomlin admitted it at his press conference saying, I told them don't turn the ball over and go back to, this run-heavy offense. I mean, he kind of admitted it.
Yeah, you
Which
would
I was
hope
shocked. I was shocked he admitted it. Relic
you would
says
hope
the
Arthur
truth
Smith would
is
just come out and say, "Screw it! I'm not. I got told what to do. Don't judge me, rest of the league. I quit."
30% O-line, 70% Russ. O-line was doing nothing for Russ, but Russ is a vet. He should know to get rid of the ball if it's collapsing. It's frustrating.
Russell Wilson had more rushing attempts than Warren. He had 3.
Oh, good stat there. Yeah, I will say I'm not gonna call it a bright spot because it's difficult to call too many things a bright spot right now. But I will say that I am putting a lot of faith in Andy Weidel and Omar Khan to be the driving force to stop this from becoming the cycle. Because when they got here, they may not have had that much power. Maybe this is third year. I'm hoping that they can do that. I genuinely am, because I remember the day before we fired Matt Canada, in my head, I'm like, this is it. This is it. Forever. We're going to be stuck with it. And then I legitimately never in a million years thought would happen. So I'm going to wait to make a lot of big blanket judgments until probably about 3 weeks to a month. And if we're still where we are right now, then yeah, I'll join you on some of that. But I want to see if we have a Matt Canada moment, or what Omar Khan comes out and says, or what we.
Omar's been part of this. He's been a Steeler forever. He's part of this mess.
He's not new.
Yeah, he's been involved in this from day one.
Relic said he used to be like that, but he's playing scared. He's in his head about fumbling. You can see it. You guys agree with that?
Yeah, it could be that. It's something. There's something.
I think it's more than that. I think it's more than that. He's never been.
There's something wrong. The kid. He also, somebody brought this.
He got paid
on Twitter. He also looks exhausted. Did you guys notice that?
Yeah.
He looks like he's tired after one play. It's like.
Yeah, he usually sits out 5 or 6 games.
Yeah. Oh, and somebody brought up that stat about Mike Williams only being targeted 13 times with the Steelers. Is that so? Did you guys see, like, even after Mike Williams had that one catch, he came right off the field right after that?
Yes.
Like there was so much subbing. It looked like it was like Warren and Williams come off, Najee Van Jefferson come on the field, and it's just like. What are you doing? Why? Like the
amount of
subbing and switching out. Like what? You got to have your best players out there, especially when you're down in the hole 21-0.
Yeah.
Like
the amount of
single elimination, right? Is what Tomlin keeps saying. So in single elimination, you leave all that shit on the mat. On the field, you have to give everything you've got at it to try to win this game, and it definitely didn't feel like that's what was happening.
On the deep ball to Austin, Williams was on the bench.
Yeah.
One of your best guys, technically, for high-pointing a ball.
Right.
On the bench.
It's felt like that a lot this year, though. Like, people don't get used effectively. Tanner brings up, he said he doesn't think you should get your hopes up where the tackles play, Zach, because Faltanu said today he doesn't know which side he'll play next year. I shit you not.
He said it.
I think any smart player would have said that, because you don't make that, you know what I mean? I don't know that you would have decided that at the end of the season, but I get it. I do get it. I'm sure that
the amount of single receiver sets I saw in that game that had nothing to do with George Pickens exhausted my soul. I started the game. I'm counting. I'm like, okay, where's Pickens? Okay. I got so sad after a little while doing that. I had to stop looking for him, because it's like really, really necessary situation. He wasn't there. He wasn't on the field. We had Skoranek running this, or we had lack of personnel awareness, man.
Yeah, you take the ball. You don't play Pickens. You don't target Pickens till the second quarter, and you take the ball. You miss him on a crosser. You don't throw him the ball in the first possession. You miss him in the second possession. And then you just kind of disappear. And every once in a while, and every time you look up, it's Skoranek and Austin are out there, not Pickens. It's like,
Yeah.
I was ready to draft Dino Tomlin first round.
Don't get me wound up.
Right. That might actually get him fired. Let's hope they do it.
He won't do
Maybe
that.
that would be the thing to take that.
We're not the Lakers. We're not the Lakers.
We've got a little thread here.
You know this team loves their brothers and Look at how many brothers we have on this team. Father son would be the wet dream. Would
There's
be
a
their
rant
fucking.
right now in the chat about how we'll be stuck with Joey Porter Jr. forever because he's family. But Relic has a thread here, a several-part thread of how we can fix the team. So let's see what you guys think about Relic's thoughts. Part 1, release trade Najee, Van, Darnell, Washington, Mike Williams, Patterson, Pruitt, Connor Hayward, Broderick Jones, Dan Moore. I'm assuming he means Connor, not Cam. Since those are all that
Darnell should not be in there.
Yeah, I don't know why you get rid of Darnell.
I think Darnell should stay.
The rest of those, get rid of them.
Najee's gone. I mean,
Gone.
he's
Dan
not
Moore's
released.
gone.
He's just a free agent.
Yeah, he's a free agent.
Yeah.
Dan
Dan Moore, I agree,
Moore's
but
a free
Broderick, we
agent.
don't have depth.
Hey,
Yeah, you can't get rid of Broderick Jones. As
How
much as
about
it
the
Broderick
stinks.
Jones is coming back.
How about Cordell Patterson bitching on Instagram that
Oh my God.
Snow, since his ass can't get on the field. I wanted to die laughing.
Yes.
I'm like, dude, like, please just realize what's going on and retire.
Read the room, dude. Part 2 is release trade Highsmith, Ogunjobi, Joey Porter Jr., Cameron Sutton, and DeMonte KZ. Highsmith's not going anywhere.
You can't try.
I mean,
you
if you
can't
want to
try-
go 1 in
Highsmith.
15, sure. I mean,
Yeah.
no problem.
If you're really trying to blow the whole fucking thing up.
Yeah.
If we
Relic
lose Highsmith,
just
we're
met
never going to
Norm.
stop a run again.
Right.
Yeah,
if you
Joey
really wanted to
shouldn't
blow
be
it
on that
up,
list either.
If you
Yeah, I
really wanted
agree.
to
He's
blow it
not
up,
going
you
anywhere.
would trade some of those players. They're not going to do that.
Yeah. Part
Look,
3,
if you're
follow
gonna-
multiple coaches and stop hiring yes men to Tomlin.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
easier said than done.
Correct.
Yeah,
If you're
but
gonna
who's
trade
gonna hire
somebody, you
the
gotta-
I agree
coaches?
with it, but I think that's easier said than
Because-
done. I mean, they got to be a little bit yes men.
Because that's the difference between Dick LeBeau, Bruce Arians, Todd Haley, when you compare them to Fichtner and Canada and Terrell Austin and Butler. That's the difference in these coaches. The ones I mentioned first, they were not yes men.
Yeah.
They were not gonna
No,
be.
they were not.
But these other ones are. And that's the difference right there.
And Relic, Darnell runs people over, though. Pat gets run
does.
over. That's
And
the
his
difference.
Darnell
knees
is what he
aren't
is.
bad. There's nothing wrong with his knees.
He's a backup tight end. He is what he is.
He's fine for what he is. I
Yeah,
think
he's fine. He's fine.
actually outperformed.
They don't.
God
really-
forbid you got a coordinator who could use his talents.
But they,
Right.
You know.
thank you. I was gonna say they don't
That's
really
the
use him like they should, though. They
Yeah.
should give.
God
him
forbid
more,
you have a creative mind in
give
there.
him more plays. Like I don't. That's another frustrating thing is
And as
him not
as
using
disappointing as the offense is, we're all matter at the defense.
him.
Yeah,
well,
because
That's
it's
what you expect for when you pay that much money, right? It would
Right.
be
Yeah.
like if you went
Right.
to Morton's for steak and you got like that gristly shit they give you at the all-you-can-eat resorts and like Cancun. Like you'd be
Yeah.
really mad.
Great
That's
example.
what we're getting
Yeah.
from our defense right now.
Yeah,
So
look,
where do you
I-
guys stand on Joey Porter Jr.? He's getting a lot of criticism in the chat right now and on social media and things. I mean, I know the penalties are frustrating. I think that goes with the territory a little bit, and maybe he'll settle in some as he gets older. It's only his second season.
guys.
He's
I've been
not
thinking about this a lot.
But do you think
He's a
was
number
a
2 corner.
penalty?
He's a number 2 corner at best.
Yeah,
He's not a number 1.
he's not
He's
enough.
too
a high-end
grabby. He's too
number 2.
holdy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even think he's high end, Bob. I really don't.
Number 2 corner? Yeah, he would be
No,
high
I
end.
don't. I don't think he is. I think he's
So do you
he's
think
very
that the-
average.
Partnered him with a solid one, Bob. That
Yes.
would really be the thing that
I mean-
solidifies that part of the defense.
Yeah, I wouldn't
want
get rid of
Ravel.
him.
Give me Ravel, 6'3",
Yeah.
190. He's a beast.
Yeah.
Give me
No,
Ravel.
if we're of 2 minds. Yes, a good rookie. But are we rebuilding or we're trying to win next year? Because if you put a rookie next to Joey Porter Jr. as your starting corners next year, it's going to be a long season.
We know they're going to try to win, so we might as well just let
Right.
that
Focus
ship
on
sail.
that.
They're going to
So go get a free agent that's
Right.
a little higher end.
I mean, DJ Reed maybe is the only, kind of big name out there.
Who's the knucklehead from Green Bay that's ready to get kicked off the team? Jair
Yeah.
Alexander.
Jair
He's talented.
Alexander.
Yeah.
He's talented as fuck. He's a
Joey
lunatic.
Porter-
But
Give me
He
the
fit right into this
6'3",
squad.
190. Probably should have been the college football defensive player of the year, Ravel. I love that kid.
Yeah.
It wasn't the penalties that with Joey Porter Jr. It wasn't even anything having to do with his coverage. But there was.
did
I'm
have
gonna go
one.
watch it back, and as bad he could have had a terrible coverage game, and I would still be more concerned over. I saw him purposely avoiding tackles and purposely avoiding. No, the Derrick Henry run. Dude didn't even try. At least two. Oh,
It was the whole defense.
I was gonna say the whole
No,
defense. looked
I
like they were
specifically,
on
but Joey
Xanax.
Porter
Maybe they
Jr.
put like Xanax in the water fountain or something.
Yeah, but Joey Porter
Seeing
Jr.
Minka
I remember
Fitzpatrick
last year,
get face planted just destroyed my soul. Just
Yeah.
destroyed
He
my
was
soul.
charged with tackling better. And Joey Porter Jr., Dante Jackson, people were avoiding. They didn't want to get hit. They didn't, and there was cowardly defensive play from guys that I hadn't seen that from before. I was very surprised at that. It looked like a defense that was really tired and just didn't want to get hurt.
There's
anymore.
video
And
of
I
Dante
was surprised.
Jackson literally just not wanting to tackle. Like he was literally, I don't know if you saw that play or not, but if he runs up, that wide receiver, whoever was running the ball, does not get that first down. He stood there and waited and hoped someone else made the tackle.
Yeah.
And on the same play, Minka wasn't exactly making a great effort either.
If he runs up and helps Minka or whoever, you'd like to think, hey, guys not going to get the first down. But when you're standing there, wanted nothing to do with it. Like, that's the other thing, too. Like, I pick on Muth, but it was the same with the defense. Queen, on that video of Henry taking it to the house, and you see 6 Steelers running behind him, that was Queen who could have made the tackle and didn't do it. He did not make he had the flu, whatever.
Yeah.
Your job out there, you're getting paid millions of dollars, make the fucking tackle. Like, and he didn't. And another thing, too, these guys kept trying to tackle Henry up high. The guy is as wide as a house. Why in the world?
And so his legs are so strong.
If you're a defensive back, for sure, what in the world are you doing trying to tackle him up high? That's why he stiffed on the shit out of Minka like he was nothing. Like, you got to go low on these guys. And that was the other frustrating thing.
They didn't wear down. I mean, it's not fair. I mean, look, they didn't wear down. They weren't interested from the start. Right. They weren't willing to play hard from the start. They just weren't. Maybe they were sick. Maybe they were whatever. But bottom line is all the guys who get out there and say, I want to play, none of them showed up. None of them. And look, I heard the point today, somebody saying, well, Cam Hayward didn't quit on, but from the first possession, you could see Derrick Henry just leaned on him and wore him down. On the first possession, I mean, no, I don't think any of them played well. I don't think all of them quit, but most of them did.
Let me ask you guys a question. Brooke Pryor said kind of a controversial statement about how she felt like there was a sense of relief in the locker room after they lost the game. They asked Mark Cavalli about that this morning on The Fan, and he's like, he wouldn't name her, but he's like, I'm not, that's somebody's opinion. He's like, I don't know what that somebody saw. And he said, but it's tight in the locker room. It's a confined space and you're in and out. He said, so maybe they heard like somebody chuckle and they made an assumption. He said, that is certainly not the impression I got. He said, those guys were devastated. So do you believe that they were relieved after the game?
Weirdly enough, when you said that, there wasn't a large part of me that was shocked if it was true. If it was true, I don't know if it is, but if it was, the way the team played, they looked like they knew that they weren't going to make it past the next round, even if they did magically win. So let's just go home. Let's go to Cabo. Let's start our vacations. That's what it felt like.
The rumors have been for a couple weeks now. The players have not been thrilled with the game plan, the scheme, all of it. And that's why they are playing the way you're seeing them play.
They've lost the team.
Yeah.
Geez, where have I heard this before? This was Matt Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the same thing last year.
First time they lost the defense, though.
All right, we got a couple here in the chat. Let's talk about them. Go a little all over the place with these. Greg Holt's new to the show. We appreciate him joining. He said he's sorry he's late at this, but we haven't talked about this. And we're not going to go like crazy into the draft and stuff because we've got all off season to do this. But since Greg asked, I'm curious what you think. He said, for drafting a quarterback, I'd look at Milroe from Alabama. Oh, my gosh, my husband will have a heart attack. Lamar-like run-pass threat that could use a year to develop. He definitely needs time to develop. McCord from Syracuse improved as a passer. He said, we wouldn't have to use a first-round pick for either one. What do you guys think about that? Do you see the Steelers drafting somebody like a Milroe that could develop behind somebody like a Justin Fields or Russell Wilson?
I mean, Ford didn't come back.
I
What's
don't
that?
mind them taking shots. Take a gamble, see if somebody pays off. I don't
Yeah.
mind that. But if you think Justin Milroe, be careful with that Lamar-like stuff. There's nobody Lamar-like. There's nobody.
We've
Milroe's
already
not
got
good.
a more Lamar-like guy on the roster. Well,
Hey,
technically, I guess we don't. But
Hey, look, I told you guys that I had this weird feeling the Steelers are going to draft a quarterback. And Ben Solak from ESPN says that he thinks the Steelers are going to draft a quarterback in the first 3 rounds.
Well, there we
Yeah,
go.
they might, but is that going to help?
My
This is the
hope
worst.
is that-
Again, this is as bad as the Kenny Pickett draft for quarterbacks. Maybe a little bit better because the top two guys are good. But
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I said I got this weird feeling that they're going to get desperate or do something stupid, and they're going to draft one of these quarterbacks.
do you know what goes through my head that scares me to death? This Ashton Genty thing is going to happen.
yeah.
They're going to draft a running back in the first round. They're going to try again.
If they,
They should stay away from quarterbacks right now. My dream, let Arthur Smith take another job this year or let his contract run out. I don't care if this was the best quarterback draft. You're still bringing him into this offense. You're still bringing him into this offensive coordinator in this scheme. I'm not sure you want a rookie quarterback in this scheme again. So let's wait till we can bring a new offensive regime in, and then let's go to quarterback, or we're just going to waste another first-round pick or second-round pick on a quarterback. At least that's how I see it. I don't want them to do that.
I haven't gone deep yet, and I'll start releasing. If you guys follow my Twitter feed, I'll be doing a whole bunch of draft stuff all the way up to the draft. I love the draft.
Me too.
No, Milroe is not the answer. Think poor man's Anthony Richardson. If you think a guy who Anthony Richardson, who the Colts are probably going to cut, was the answer, then you will not enjoy the Jalen Milroe tenure. Even less than the Colts are enjoying the Anthony Richardson.
There we go, somber. I'm with somber.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Yep.
Yeah.
Milroe
I'm
is
like
not.
Jackson Dart, but I think everybody just likes him because his name is Jackson Dart.
Yeah,
He's not bad. If you can get him in the 5th round, that's
Yeah,
not
but
a
that's what is that? Why bother?
I've already started mock drafting because I'm sick in the head. But yeah, yeah, he's been there in the 4th or 5th round. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like him. He's okay. I'm telling you, the guy I'm all over is Ravel. I really like him. I really, really, really like him, and I want the Steelers to get him. I mean, I think that's got to be the first-round pick. I don't love most.
You got to get a wide receiver, no, Bob?
Not in the first round. I don't love the first-round class.
I know,
I know a lot of people like that Ohio State kid, but I mean, if we got him early in the second, kind of like we got Joey Porter a couple of years ago, yeah, I'd see that. But I don't want to see a top 20 pick. I don't think he's worth it.
Not at wide receivers?
I think he'd be a phenomenal second round get. Don't get me wrong. I think he's an NFL player. I just don't think he's not Brian Thomas. He's not that kind of player.
Dave, you got to cry for help here from Relic. Make him stop thinking we're going to draft Dino Tomlin with round 1. I think that's even more like nepotism than even Tomlin.
Is his son even good?
Sign him.
Time out.
No.
I bet they sign him.
No.
Is
They
his
might
son
sign
even
him. They're
good?
not drafting him with the first round pick.
No, never.
They're not going to draft him at all. They're going to be like Hayward. They'll sign him.
He's not that good.
But would it shock us if he ended up on the team next year as an undrafted free agent?
That would not shock me. It would just shock me if they drafted him in the first round because he's not that good.
Yes.
He's not that level of talent.
He's not a 7th rounder either.
Why?
No,
Why? Well,
agree.
I have nothing else. Like, thank you for not putting an H or K on my name like most people tend to. If not, I'll take that. If you're gonna come for me, at least spell it
Right.
Oh, this game.
But yeah, we'll have a whole bunch of draft stuff leading up.
Yeah,
There'll be
we'll
all
do the
kinds of-
wild draft stuff.
It's a long off season. It started earlier than we wanted it to, so we have extra time on our hands.
Plenty of
Guys,
time.
what do you
free
think is
agents.
going to be the first big news item that we will hear out of Pittsburgh? There's always
that's a good
something.
question.
What do you think will be the first
Terrell
big
Austin
news
fired.
item?
Pat Myers.
Terrell Austin fired.
George Pickens demands a trade.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
That could be.
I think Terrell Austin's a good one. I think either him or Pat Meyer. I think that they're going to be. Look, Rooney's going to have to sit down with the media an answer for the comments he made last year, and he's going to do his usual like lawyer Tomlin speak where he doesn't really say anything. And but he said it's not acceptable, and they're gonna ask him about it, and
they better have the balls to ask him all kinds of stuff.
I'm sure they will. I don't know that he'll actually answer them, but I think that he's gonna blame the end of the season schedule. He's gonna blame offensive injuries on the offensive line. I think he's gonna, and then I think he's gonna have scapegoats. Do you know what I mean? And I think it'll be Terrell Austin and Pat Meyer and.
I don't see Terrell Austin going anywhere. I mean,
the
Tomlin
reports I
loves
saw
him.
on Twitter was that it was Austin and Meyer are the most likely to go.
What's the status?
That's
What's the
what I
contract
think.
status of Meyer? Does anybody know? Has he still got years on his deal? Because if he does,
I think he
I don't
does.
know.
He does. I know he
I
still
don't
has
know.
years on his deal. I just don't know how many. I think it's 2. Because this
Yeah,
came up. If he was up for contract, I think it would be a no-brainer. But
yeah,
I think because he's not, I think it's they're not likely to.
It was
they're not gonna
supposed to
move.
expire before this season, but
No.
they didn't announce an extension, but they must have.
Yeah.
Hopefully it was only 1 year. And hey,
They
Relic,
finalized a 2-year deal with him in January of 2024. A new 2-year deal.
so yeah, he's not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere.
Hey, Brooke Pryor versus Mike Tomlin tomorrow at 12:30. That
Woohoo!
could be dynamite.
He does not like Brooke Pryor, does he?
Hates her.
He shuts her down.
He hates her. He hates her.
Hates
To be
Yeah,
fair,
he
she's
really
got
does.
questions, and I'm like, Brooke, I feel like you're being punked. Like, come on, if you want to call me, girl, I'll help you out with some questions.
But I love when he gets
How-
mad, man. He gets so mad at her.
He
It's
does.
hilarious.
It's fantastic. That's like a guaranteed article every week.
That video where he goes, "Let's not get dramatic."
Yeah.
Wasn't it her question he walked out on, or was it somebody
Yeah,
And I
else?
think
Yes,
It was her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He brings out the worst in him, or the best from our perspective. Relic says, Bob, I don't think Pickens is asking for a trade. He had a story last night on Insist saying the team will be back next year. I don't see him asking.
was that the Michael Brewerly account?
Yeah, I know, right?
Look, I don't want him to go. I would love for him to stay, but
Yeah.
I can't see
Now-
him signing him. And if you don't sign him, you better trade him because lame
That I
duck
agree with.
lame duck George Pickens.
Yeah. Gonna be a
Oh,
problem.
that's gonna be loads of fun.
Yeah,
yeah,
he's gonna be
loads
a
of fun.
problem. I think they
When-
know
and-
that.
And
Yeah.
John, regarding the pre-approved questions, that is, I have heard that's been debunked by every single Steelers
Yeah.
beat writer, every single Steeler media person. It's a popular rumor. They do not get pre-approved questions. The Steelers are the same as every other NFL team. So I know it might seem like that, but yeah, when it comes to press conferences, they're allowed to ask what they're allowed to ask. They don't have to answer them, but they can ask what they'd like.
But
Yeah.
one thing on that, Zach, you have seen people with press kit credentials for smaller papers up there have those credentials revoked for asking Tomlin tough questions. He didn't answer them, but that when they asked him,
Well,
they didn't
that's
come back.
different than having pre-approved questions.
Yeah.
I'll say,
Yeah, no,
yeah. So yeah, so yeah.
And I'll say this number, it
or-
doesn't mean that Pickens couldn't be traded. Just because he's still on his rookie deal until next
Yeah.
offseason doesn't mean that they couldn't work something out to get, to trade him.
Generally, when you're going into your last year of your contract, you redo it. You either sign an extension or something. If
Yeah.
there's no extension signed, that's a sign of trouble.
Well, it'd be just like what they did with Najee, but I don't think he has the professionalism that Harris has.
Yeah.
And I agree with Bob. I think he could be a problem. So Relic has a question before we go. He says, why when Mike T does his after game presser or his Tuesday presser, why is there 8 questions and then some dude off to the side saying anyone else like shut up, more questions?
That guy's paid exclusively by Mike Tomlin to get him the hell out of there.
Right.
As
to
soon
get
as
him out of
possible.
there.
Team.
That-
Sure. Okay, let's
Yeah.
get out before this goes off the rails.
Right.
Uh,
That's his cue. And are there any more questions? I mean,
Yeah.
shut the fuck up and stop asking
Yeah.
like questions. That's the secret code there. Well,
I-
guys,
I'm-
if you joined us tonight in the chat, we really appreciate it. It was a good and active group tonight. And from our end, from the Sanctuary crew, we really appreciate all of you coming out and commiserating with us. It's been a tough couple of days. We will be back on Monday to begin off-season talk.
Well, yeah,
On
I
Monday?
think we're talking about
Yeah.
doing Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah, still have Thursday.
We'll do a Thursday one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one
Gotta
of
do
the-
a
we'll be back
Hard
Thursday.
Knocks
I forgot
post
what day it is.
maybe start talking free agency.
Yeah, start talking
Yeah.
free agency, start talking the off season, but we will still be here. And
going anywhere, Relic. Don't worry. We're gonna figure out what our schedule looks like in the off season.
Relic
But
wants
we're-
more sanctuary. We agree.
The segments will be different. They might look a little different. We might have to change some stuff, but we'll have this. You know what? Throw it in the chat. If you want certain segments during the off season, if
Let
you're
us know.
interested in certain ones of us covering, let us know. Let us
And I'll
know
be
what
posting-
you've seen that you'd like to see.
I'll be posting draft profiles on TikTok unless TikTok gets banned. So make sure you follow us on TikTok too.
Yeah.
Well, Vaughn, if you pay us to do a draft cast, it would feed our families, and we would appreciate that. So I'm
Vaughn's
just
talking
saying.
about feeding people like we're here for it. Leanne's hungry.
Yeah, definitely here for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We appreciate all of you joining us tonight. You can follow the Steeler Sanctuary page and the podcast page both on Twitter. You can follow all of us. Our social media handles are on there. Please give us a follow. If you're watching the show after it was filmed live, then you can leave us a comment. We still want to hear from you. So please let us know what your thoughts are. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Is that all?
No! Come on. Stop whining. No more complaining. Don't change the subject. Just answer the fucking question.
Mind your tongue.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Excellent.
You're amazing. You figured this all out already.
I didn't like him anyway. He wasn't right in the hat. Goodbye, my love.